Dia Div Gargania. I'm Jamie McGlue. I'm an independent candidate for Dublin Bay North. Please vote me. Okay, that's all. See you later. No, just kidding. All right. Um, we're going to talk about Aontú. Three reasons why, strategic reasons why we nationalists should vote Aontú um, as the final preference you do. So don't give any preferences to anyone like Labour, People Before Profit, Fine Gael, Fianna Fáil, Sinn Féin. None of that, right? Um, they'll in the links here. I'll have the proper nationalist candidates who stand for free speech, fair borders, full sovereignty, um, common sense, traditional things which Ireland can use to revive ourselves from this mess we've been put in. However many are in your constituency, vote these people first. Um, however, then I believe you should put Aontú. Now, I understand there is a lot of problems with Aontú, and the more I look into it, the more I find. And so I just did a video, there were podcasts there saying basically there's the legal, not really being too clear on do they want to limit legal immigration? They talk about illegal. What about legal? Being a bit cozy with, the status quo, globalists, they're happy to go into power after all with, Sinn Féin or Fianna Fáil, who are like globalist parties. So that's a bit of it. And, they seem a bit leery of looking, too fringe. Um, and then Socialism, like they kind of seem to be quite socialist, more a long-term problem, but nonetheless. Another one to add to the list is just looking into it, the basic, saying Pater Tobin saying ethno-nationalism, in so many words, he's saying, it's like wrong, like it's backward or whatever. But it's like, you can have your opinion on, that like, oh, someone can come here and get Irish citizenship. Now they're full on Irish. You can have your opinion that, that's all it is, but you should respect other people's opinion, which is probably the majority opinion. I would think that it goes deeper than that, and it's a kind of shared meta family, a family of families, a tribe, and you can marry in to the tribe, and merge with the culture, and you can become part of the tribe. But it's not just like that. So, but anyway, nonetheless, so there are these problems with Aontú, but three reasons why we should vote them. So Dublin Bay North, vote me number one, and then the others five people. So who are on board. They're on the level, and then James Morris of Aontú. Why? Okay, so given that there are these sketchy things with them, so one. Uh, it's better than having these uh, other people. Like what we're doing essentially is by giving them that preference instead of just leaving it empty. All we're saying is like hopefully it never gets used and like all the proper nationalists get seats. That would be amazing, right? Who knows? The polls are, wrong, really wrong, quite, often, like say, Donald Trump thing, completely wrong, the polls. So please God, actually we have a huge landslide victory for independence. And we can have some different dynamic appearing. I don't know. I don't know if that's possible. I don't know, but I'm still focusing on that. That's what I want. I'm manifesting. Um, but uh, if we don't get enough votes, and not, say me, not enough votes, Brian Garrett, not enough votes, Kevin Coyle, Jim O'Connor, Ron, Michael Burke, Paul Fitzsimmons, to say all of us, yeah. Um, if we don't get enough votes, and then should we include the Aontú candidate, James Morris? If we don't, then basically we're making it a bit easier for Labour, People Before Profit, Sinn Féin, Fine Gael, Fianna Fáil to outcompete with Aontú, right? So now there's a huge difference between Aontú and all these other people, right? And Aontú is much closer to us. So although they're not pure, they're not full, there's all these problems, it's still much better for us if they get in power. And there are these three reasons for this, but that's basically what we're doing. By putting them as in Dublin Bay North would be number seven, and that's your final one. Maybe in your constituency you just have two proper nationalists and then maybe an Aontú candidate, so you put them three, and then that's it. So one, the if Aontú get enough candidates where they will be invited to be a coalition partner in government, that puts the brakes on a whole lot of crazy policies which the government are going to try to put through, like hate speech bill. Fianna Gael have said they want to do this. Fianna Fáil are all on board with this as well. So if Aontu are there, they have said no to it. So it would be very tricky for them to just do a complete 180 there. So it it seems like things like that, or like the woke stuff, like the base at least is quite, conservative. There's a lot of religious people there, not all religious, but and so there is the in general people who are more pro-life or whatever. So there's all these things where the woke and the hate speech stuff, um, and just the illegal immigration side of things, the brake's going to be put on that. So Aontú is better than people for profit and labor and stuff. In a worst case scenario where we didn't get enough votes, right? We may as well give them our vote just in case it gives them an edge, and they end up being the ones to be the coalition partner because they can, number one, stop certain of the worst policies of the new government coming through. Secondly, uh, they the Overton window, right, which refers to what is politically acceptable. So it's what do the politicians and kind of the public deem as being politically acceptable, and there's a bit of a feedback loop um, of politicians responding to the people or kind of leading them. And but at the moment, limiting immigration, a bunch of people would feel like, oh, I don't want to be thought of racist. So even though, the majority of the immigrants are like, well, yeah, of course you could have too many immigrants. Yeah, what? But they don't have the fear of racism warping their perspective. They're like, yeah, well, obviously. Um, so the Overton window, if aim to get a big showing in the election, the general public, even if they're not actually, really right wing, or they're not actually like nationalist, really in like the deeper sense, right? They're kind of more hybrid mainstream nationalist kind of thing. Republican Party, uh, that it will be perceived in the public as, oh, right wing is not racist anymore. Right wing's not fringe. Look, they're in the parliament, they're in the dot, So and just the idea that things can change. Oh, Aontú were nothing, then they got one seat, they got some councillors, now they've got a bunch of them in the door. Okay, things can change. So on several levels, it means it says it's a signal to the Irish collective consciousness. Things can change. Right wing is kind of acceptable-ish now. Um, Wanting to limit immigration, that's kind of what they think, about Aontú, even though they're not totally legit on that. That's just the illegal side they're talking about. And think about maybe being against like euthanasia and or whatever this or against hate speech. It's becoming more mainstream. So that is setting us up for the next election then, where the Overton window is shifted. It's easier for real nationalists to get in. Thirdly, right? So far we have one blocking, potentially putting a brake on some of the worst policies, like taking away our right to free speech, which would be, mayhem if they tried to do that. So putting a block on some of these things. Second, the Overton window, opening up what's politically acceptable, that, taking away that whole taboo about limiting immigration, especially. And then thirdly, um, because Aontú, if they can get big enough where, some party goes, okay, it's in our best interest, we'll form coalition with you so that we can, you know, and we'll just try to use the media to demonize you if you go against us. We'll try to control you, whatever, and um, we'll have you as part of our coalition. Um, then the thing is, Aontú actually, a lot of their base is quite conservative, and so that it is a much bigger distinction between them and say Fianna Fáil or Sinn Féin than a lot of these other parties. And so, like say, people for profit or whatever, um, uh, uh, you could make the argument that Fianna Fáil, but whatever. Okay, so there's a chance. It seems to me there's a fairly good chance of tensions there and unfolding, cascading, escalating world events could put strains on that coalition and break it before the full term's up, which would mean other new elections. So maybe 2 years from now we could have elections again. So giving us enough time to build up the awareness of the nationalist movement, the true nationalist movement, and so we can get back in. So rather than having to wait 5 years, which by which point there could be too much damage. So that's it. Three strategic reasons why we would want to give our final preference to Aontú, just so that they can outcompete any of the other potential coalition partners. And around the country, if they can outcompete, our votes help them outcompete a bit. They get one or two extra seats. It could make them the kingmakers who can jump into coalition, put the brakes on some of the more extreme policies, open up political acceptability of some of these ideas they're associated with, whether they're actually legit about them or not, and then thirdly, create a weaker government which can then fall apart sooner, and we can get back to business with actually getting genuine, more like to be fair to Ancient, they've got a lot of policies I would agree with, and James Morris I talked to, I agree with him on like had a good conversation, agreed with him on basically everything, um, uh, but these this there are these issues where Aontú are playing kind of mainstream politics, and so this could be a transitionary, strategy for us, the nationalist movement. So, what do you think about that? Let me know in the comments. I feel like this is a good balance of principle and practicality. So, let me know what you think. Gormila Margrieve, Agus Bearbo.